Think you know which way it's going to go? You should head on over to Sports Interaction. When the puck drops, Sports Interaction has you covered.
Live in play.
Live in play.
But pregame.
Pregame, live in play are one of their many prop bets. I wasn't ready.
On all major sports and prop bets. Wanna bet? SportsInteraction.com/STPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. I'm keeping them on their toes.
Blake Wheeler going to be out for at least a month. He went through surgery. He undergone surgery.
Underwent.
There we go.
There you
He
go.
underwent surgery on Friday after he blocked a shot on Thursday. And then Nate Schmidt, also in that Thursday game, he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury. And the Jets have been like always they're a little light on D already, so this doesn't really help losing Nate Schmidt. And Blake Wheeler, who's having a great season after being stripped of the captaincy, is going to hurt the lineup a lot too. But like the Jets, they're one of the surprise teams. Like Rick Bowness has them playing really well. They're 20-10-1. I believe they lost last night, but they're playing really well. Rick Bowness has them playing great defense. Their penalty kill has gone from 29th in the league to 5th this year.
That's big.
That's huge. Like that's going to turn around your entire franchise. Like they've been playing really well. I think they're in a position where like, hey, we can probably lock them into a playoff spot, considering how weak the Central kind of looks in the bottom half. Like they're kind of good right now. And there's one thing I want to throw out to you, Steve Dangle, because I've been hearing a little bit of the chatter. It's bumbling under the surface.
And
I think we're getting there. Yeah, there's been some good chat in this ballpark here. Jonathan Toews.
Oh, come on now.
Where is Jonathan Toews from?
Winnipeg,
Manitoba. I think if this team really thinks they have the team that they have, and I think they've been good 31 games in, they're second in the Central, they're 1 point back of the Dallas Stars with a game in hand. If they want to go for it this season, to bring in the hometown boy, have Scheifele, PLD, Jonathan Toews, push Adam Lowry down to the fourth line, that center connection right there, that'll win you a couple rounds of the playoffs.
That's formidable.
Jonathan Toews to the Winnipeg Jets. What do you think?
I've heard dumber ideas. Listen, he's got to go somewhere, which isn't true, actually. He could simply rot on the Chicago Blackhawks. But that's a team that's getting a ton of saves. Saves and then Toews. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He can make it even better for you. I think it would take a lot of responsibility off of him. He has too much of a load to do everything on a team that is reprehensibly bad in the Chicago Blackhawks. He goes from Peter Mrazek to Connor Hellebuck, which I think is going to be pretty wild. Imagine Jonathan Toews pulling like third line duty on the Winnipeg Jets. Give him really specific roles. You ease him into the lineup. If you want, you can work him up. You know, I don't think Pierre-Luc Dubois would mind too much, but for a team that has made defensive strides, to add a guy like Jonathan Toews, a work ethic and experience, and you know, local boy story. If you want to go that far, you know, the Jets haven't had enough of those. It's an interesting idea, and it's an idea that I think could potentially be done on the cheap, because the Blackhawks are in an awful position. Because they have to retain half on a player making $10.5 million. You know, I don't really think they're in a position of, well, because we're retaining half, it's going to cost more for you in terms of assets. No, you're retaining half and you're still giving us a player who's what's half of that? $5.75 million.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what kind of assets the Jets would have to give up, because that's fascinating to me.
5.25.
5.2?
Yeah, 5.25.
Oh yeah, you're right.
5.25. Yeah,
you're right. It felt wrong as I said it.
The first thing I did when I looked at this was, do they have their first round pick?
Yes.
And they do. The Winnipeg Jets do have their first round pick. Because I think that's kind of what it's going to cost. For Jonathan Toews, I don't know if you're the Blackhawks, if you're Kyle Davidson, you can't say we traded Jonathan Toews and we didn't get a first round pick back.
If I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff, I do my absolute best to get it to be conditional. But if I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff, I'm like, oh, I want a cup with this guy. And now I'm starting to, I'm like, what? Why?
I didn't make that connection.
Now I'm like, why? Why do all of these names feel like they know each other? Oh. Well, anyway, we know Cheveldayoff is a fan of Toews. Maybe he would be willing to do that.
Didn't even think of that. Wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
Freaking, there's your GM. You're going back to him. You know, if they're still buddies. The guy who ran the organization for all those cup years. Bringing back the kid to Winnipeg. First round pick. Maybe it's not this year's first. Like maybe you hold out because this draft is supposed to be so deep. Maybe you trade the 2024 first round pick to Chicago.
You get into trouble with that shit.
Yeah.
You get into trouble trading your first over a year ahead of time. You get into trouble with that shit.
It's true.
Maybe you put some sort of protection on it this year. If I'm the Jets, I'm willing to do a lot of things before I give up an unprotected first this year. I try to see how far down the road Ville Heinola gets me. Blue chip prospect who's unhappy in his situation. There could be a match there.
That's a very good point. Like if Heinola doesn't have a long-term fit in your organization because he's not happy, like there's a guy with still 2 years left on the ELC. He looks like he's going to be a good prospect, left-handed defenseman. Send him over to Chicago.
Why not? Hey, kid, you want playing time? Here's the worst organization in the entire league right now. Go for it.
Do you know when Heinola played his first NHL game?
He played it as an 18-year-old.
In 2019.
Yeah. He was drafted, I don't remember where, but it was in the first round. And he played straight out of whatever league he was drafted from. He played as an 18-year-old. And can't help but feel like that might have got his hopes up because unfortunately he's still not a regular NHL player, which I don't think anyone could have predicted given how he started in this league.
Only 2 games this season with the Jets, 13 down in the AHL with the Manitoba Moose, but like he's just bounced around everywhere since being drafted. First round, 20th overall.
Dude. 8 games as an 18-year-old defenseman, picked 20th overall. 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points.
5 and 8.
And then add him to the list. So many players drafted in that friggin' draft, in the 2019 draft, got so screwed by COVID. And he ends up playing in 3 different leagues in the 2020-2021 season. Plays in Finland, plays with the Jets, plays with the Moose. He's playing all over the place. Nick Robertson in Toronto, who wasn't drafted too far after Heinola. He was within a round anyway of Heinola. There's lots of players from those like the 2018, the 2019, and the 2020 drafts who their development's just screwed. Like I keep bringing it back to the Leafs, but they have a guy named Ty Voigt who was drafted after having not played hockey for a year. That's part of the reason he slid that far, is he was supposed to go higher than that. But then no one took him because he didn't play. Heinola was unfortunate to have already been drafted and then gotten this taste and then had it taken away from him. If COVID never happens, he's a regular NHLer a couple years ago. But if ifs and buts, right? I don't think any of us wish that happened, but
No, yeah. No, it's Nick Robertson's one of the best examples of that. A guy whose career has just been completely yo-yoed and derailed by COVID and just the situation, and then now it's even worse because of his injury.